Real quick, the only ask I could ever have of you guys is to help spread the word so we can help more women lose body fat, build muscle, reach their goals, and feel insanely confident. And the only way we can do that is if you rate, review, and share this podcast. So the single thing I ask for you to do is if you could leave a review. It will take you 10 seconds and it will mean the absolute world to me and may change the world of someone else. Let's go down that path. I mean, again, you guys, like Lisa's beginning, again, we've been through multiple phases, but from where she started around 50 with WarriorBabe to a couple years in, the transformation she made was just absolutely incredible. And I feel like we're on this next chapter together. And I'm so excited to do this like by your side and the data that you have now. Hey everyone, really quick before we dive into today's episode, I have an exciting milestone to celebrate with all of you. The Macro Hour podcast has officially reached 500,000 downloads. That's 500,000 downloads in just a year and a half of being born. I could not have done this without you guys. Thank you all so freaking much. And now I want to hear your stories. If you could just take 10 minutes of your time to fill out a testimonial, that testimonial link is in the description below, that would mean the absolute world to me. How has the Macro Hour podcast positively impacted your life? What have you taken away from this show? How have you applied it and what results have you gotten? Your story could be featured in one of our special celebration episodes to come. So if you could, please head over to the testimonial link. The link is in the show notes below and share your journey with me. Thank you all so much for being an essential part of this freaking amazing Macro Hour community. You guys all rock. I love you all so much. So let's celebrate this achievement together. Again, that testimonial link is in the show notes below. Thank you all so much. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Macro Hour, or if you are a new listener, welcome to the show and welcome to one of the first episodes that you guys may be listening to, because this is going to be an amazing episode for you all to dive into if you're new. First of all, I am so excited for this episode to go down. I have not only one of my clients, my badass client, but also a friend and a mom and a wife. And she's going to be here to share her entire journey of what it was like before WarriorBabe, during WarriorBabe, and kind of what we're going through right now. She's been a member since 2019, and she's going to talk about like all of the things where she started her journey, the ups, the downs, the lessons learned, the wins. And I know she's going to provide some valuable insights into managing just some valuable insights into managing maybe some aspects of your journey you're able to resonate with, and offering practical tips and heartfelt advice. And not to mention, she's just like, I know she's a badass, but she's just a down-to-earth human being. And I'm excited for her to just share some things here on this episode that I hope that you guys can take and run with and implement. And if not any of those things, just be seriously inspired from her journey. So, Lisa, welcome to the show.
Hello. How are you? It's really an honor to be here with you today.
Yes, I'm so excited for you to, again, share your story. Like, I know there's going to be so many points of which, like, so many women are going to be able to resonate with you. And the women that are listening are either struggling, going through it, or are an action taker as you are. So let's just start from like A1, day one. Like, what was your story before WarriorBabe?
So my story before WarriorBabe was that I struggled with weight loss my whole life. And I was never super heavy, but I was also never where I ever wanted to be. I always struggled like with 15 to 20, extra pounds. And I tried everything. I mean, from the time going back as far as I can remember, I mean, definitely maybe late teens, early 20s. I just did everything. I mean, every single fad diet that came along. And, I know we talked about this a long time ago, but, if it was the grapefruit diet, I was doing the grapefruit diet. If, if it was the elimination diet of don't eat this, don't eat that, I did everything. And every time a diet would come along, it had so much hype to it. And it was like, oh, well, this is it. This is the magic one. And, I would do it. And I'm a real determined person. And when I put my mind to something, I'm going to do it. So I'd always go in and I'd lose the weight. And then I'd, go off of it because it's not attainable. I mean, the cabbage diet, you're too young for the cabbage diet, but some women out there remember the cabbage diet. You can only be on that for so long. And, so I just did from diet to diet to diet. And nothing ever worked. And, I didn't realize at the time how destructive what I was doing was. Not only, mentally, but physically, what I was doing to my body. And I did this throughout my 20s, throughout my 30s, my 40s, up until I think I was just turning 50 when I started with you. So, and I'm getting ready I'll be 56 on Friday. So it's been a long, it's been a long journey. But when I saw you on Instagram, and this was WarriorBabe before it was WarriorBabe, it was you, and you resonated with me. You were younger than me, but what you said made perfect sense to me. Talking about the macros, talking about just signs that your body was unhealthy and just symptoms of stuff, and talking about, just so many factors there. And I was like, this makes so much sense because I've always worked out and I've always eaten correctly, but I knew nothing about macros. I didn't know how to put that together. I had always eaten within, calories. And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to reach out. And I reached out and you reached right back out, and we just kind of hit it off. And I was like, you know what, this is my person.
Lisa, guys, like if you guys, you're listening here right now, and I can't wait for us to just dive into your journey because you are such a, not only like a dedicated individual like you just mentioned, but just an incredible human. Like you have been a gem to work with. But going back to what you had said with, you did all of the things, you tried all of the things, man, I know that's going to resonate with so many of the women that are listening to this right now. To your birthday, happy early birthday. Badass. Let's go. And then I'm happy you brought up your age there because I wanted to let everybody know as we continue on, unpacking your entire journey that you started when you were around 50 years old, WarriorBabe, and now 56 on Friday. I'd like can't get over that. Like you do not look like you're 56 first of all. Anybody's watching on video. She's a beautiful human. And then I want to note right there really quick before we dive into anything else, younger. I was younger than you. Why did you want to listen to me? Because I think a lot of women that join WarriorBabe are older and some of our coaches are younger. What made you listen?
Well, because what you said made sense. You weren't trying to sell some quick fix. You from the very beginning, you would be like, this takes work. It takes dedication. It takes commitment. Like you have to put in the work. I can give you all the tools. I can tell you where your macros need to be. I can tell you what kind of workouts we need to do. And I can give you the tough love. Because remember, I told you that I'm a bulldozer and I bulldozer over people. And you're like, nope, I got you. I will be, and you have given me tough love whenever I've needed it. You've kind of, lovingly jerked my little chain and been like, you've called bullshit on me before when I've had excuses. And that's what I was always used to doing though. I was used to excuses, and, and that's how I would weave my way out of that commitment of what I was doing. I would use an excuse, whether, I wasn't feeling well, whether things were going on in my life. Life got busy. Anything like that. And if I'd ever just stopped and been honest with myself, everybody's busy. Everybody's got problems. everybody has issues. We all have busy lives. It's how bad did I want it? And being able to sit down with you as a coach and be like, this is what we need to do if we want to accomplish this. How bad do you want to accomplish this, Lisa? And I was like, I want it bad.
I love that. Mic drop. Really sound effect in the background. Mic drop. And that's what makes the best client coach relationship is when we align and you're communicating to me what you want. I'm communicating that you have to do the work, and then you go and you actually do the work. That's what makes like ultimate success in a partnership together. It's not like a two-way, it's not like a one-way street. It's a two-way street, right? We're working together for you. I got the plan, I got the expertise, I got the knowledge, right? You got the drive, the want, the desire, and then, you know, hoping to accomplish what you want to accomplish. So with that said, right, excuses that you shared, a lot of women handle and deal with that. I'm too busy. I don't have enough time. Kids, soccer practice. I don't feel like meal prepping. Before we started working together and you became a WarriorBabe, what were your expectations of the program before joining? And like, how do you feel like so far how did you think it could help you getting to where you want it to be?
Well, so when I went in the beginning, of course, with everything that I'd heard, and, you know, that's what I wanted, but also too, in the back of my mind, I still had that old mentality. So this was still at that point, not knowing, you know, not working with you yet, not getting into it. I still in the back of my mind was like, yeah, this is the next quick, you know, fix. This is going to fix me. And the one thing that we started working on kind of right away was my mindset. And I did not like that. I did not like working on mindset, because it made me accountable to myself for some things. And I did not like that.
What do you mean by that? Can you back that a little bit more?
Yeah. So, I was the person that was 5 days a week and 2 off. You know, I was at 71%. And I would do really good 5 days a week. And then on the weekend, I dug my heels in because I was like, no, I like having my weekends. I want to do what I want to do what I want to do. I want to eat what I want to eat. And, you know, and I'm going to go out and it's not like I was a drinker, but I was a social drinker. And I liked my Saturdays with my girlfriends or my husband or whatever. We can go out to the wineries, my daughter, you know, go to a winery or something. I liked that. And I would convince myself that was kind of my treat meal. But my treat meal lasted 6 hours, you know.
It lasted 48 hours.
Yeah, it was a 48-hour treat meal. And you don't really realize, you know, and the reason it was a 2-day thing, it's not that I went out and did things both days, but when you go out and you're having drinks, you know, like people complain that it's really hard to get down 120 ounces of water. Girlfriend, I could get down 120 ounces of wine probably pretty quick. The wine was not an issue, you know, but you don't realize how much you're drinking, you know, until you really start measuring and see what like 4 ounces of a drink is, you know, and you're thinking, wow, I've been going out all day long. And then, so the next day, so not only what happened is that night, slept horrible. Sleep was terrible, you know, woke up in the middle of the night with anxiety. So sleep was trashed. Wake up the next morning. My day was completely unproductive because I had anxiety. I felt kind of depression, you know, because of that. So I didn't eat well the next day. Not that I just went out of my way eating junk, but I felt like I needed extra bread or carbs because I felt hungover, you know. So it would take me back until then Monday morning, I was back on it, all the way through Friday. And I remember at the time telling you that because you had me doing my weigh-ins on Saturday morning. And I was like, that's your way of keeping me from having anything Friday night. But I would use, that's what I did. And I convinced myself that that's good. I am good as gold 5 days a week, and I deserve to have some fun, like that was my mindset at the time.
And I think a lot of women totally can resonate with you on that. The Monday through Friday goers, and then I want to be off for the weekend, and then about 4 or 6 weeks later, asking the question, why am I not seeing the results that I want to see? Well, let's backtrack
Right.
here a little bit, and let's actually get down to data and evidence. And when we look at the big picture of maybe out of the last, we'll use 4 weeks for an example, we look at that's probably 30 days. So, and then of those 30 days, there's 8 days worth of 2, 4, 6, 8, 8 days worth of weekends. And then you do quick math. What's that, 30 minus 8 is 22. So I need a calculator to do this. That's, you're still going up at 73%. You said that math. That was 71, 73%. And I mean, everyone on the scale of grading has changed drastically. But when I was in school, that was sub failing. So
yeah, you weren't doing well. You weren't gonna graduate top of your class at 71%.
Exactly. And then that's just you're showing up at 71, 73% for yourself and the goals that you want to achieve. So everyone listening, just take that as just think about that. Consider yourself, if you were like Lisa at the beginning of your journey, or are like how Lisa was at the beginning of her journey, and you're like that now. Just it's what we worked on in the beginning was Lisa taking ownership for her, she's sharing with you guys her mindset, which is so hard for a lot of women to be able to do. But in order to get to where you want to be, you have to take responsibility of the things and be able to do the right by what you need to do in order to start showing up for yourself. So let's talk about though, I feel like our entire journey, right? It's been since 2019. I even pulled up our stats inside of Trainer Eyes, and looking all the way back, I can't even go that far back, which is wild. Oh wait, can I? I think I can actually. I can. So we've been through so many different phases together, but I think what I want to dive into now, before we hit the ground running, when we talk about mindset and all the things, you're not I want to preface this for everyone listening. You're a late menopause bloomer. You haven't gone through menopause, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Are you experiencing any symptoms in terms of premenopause?
So I'm not really sure. I mean, I had a uterine ablation a few years back because I was such a heavy bleeder. And once I had that, it immediately stopped any kind of bleeding. But every single month, I still get all the symptoms. I, get the breakouts on the chin. I get, the moodiness. My husband says I'm not the nicest person in the world. I don't believe. But I just get irritable. I get, the cramps. And, but when I went to the gynecologist, she's like, all they care about is when my last period was. Mm-hmm. And so when my last period was a few years ago, well, you're in menopause. They won't take my hormones. They wouldn't take my hormones. They wouldn't test them. They just put me into the menopause department. Mm. And I was like, okay, well, I don't really feel like I'm there, but I didn't see a way out of that. They wouldn't do my blood work for me. So I do feel like that I am still very much in my cycle, and
yeah,
and we'll get to that later.
Yeah, totally. Everybody definitely needs to hang around to listen to that, because what we're experiencing now has been the biggest insight into Lisa's next steps in her transformation and her journey here. you've done an incredible job in transforming your body when we first started, and getting through like the initial things that we needed to work through together. But even looking back, like you started around 153 pounds. And then it was more so like, yeah, the weight dropped, but I'm gonna have to figure out how to get an edit of your before and after into the video so everyone can see it. And then I would just highly encourage, if everyone's listening on audio, to go make your way to YouTube or to look at our socials, because we'll have, before and after of your journey. But you went from, you had it being at 153, and how tall are you? Remind me.
5'6".
5'6", so 153 pounds. You had like body fat, and you had more body fat to your body than you had muscle. And then all of a sudden, bam, when we got through the jam, you had dropped all the way down to like 131. But then over the time, we were able to get your body to put on more muscle. And there was a drastic difference between, and let me preface that you have been able to you've been decreasing body fat and putting on more muscle, even at the age at which you shared that you were at.
Right.
So we did that incredible transformation, right? You did the incredible transformation. You put in the freaking work, man. Like when Lisa is on. Like you're determined. The light switch is there, and you just want to get it done. You want to get it done. What I really respect about our relationship is not only do you want to get it done for you, but I love that you always share, like, you have me to show up for on a weekly basis. Like you have to put in the weekly adjustment form. You have to do the stats. You have to be honest in your form with me. And if you're not honest when in form, then you're just doing a disservice to yourself and to me and to your journey here. So you had an incredible transformation. Let's talk about that a little bit. Like from when you did come into WarriorBabe and our initial stages together, and that first like few years of working together, and then bam, you know what I'm talking about, like the aftermath, the after photos that we were celebrating and so impressed by. What changed the most for you there?
So it was a little slow going in the beginning, and that was all on me. And once we kind of dialed it in, and you were continuing to work with me every week on mindset, because I used pure motivation when I came into the program. Everything I did for losing, weight, or now what I would say is body fat, but at the point I was just weight, because I was losing muscle and fat, which is what got me into the predicament I was in when I came to you. But once we started tightening things up, I had gotten myself to a point where I was, we had become a little insulin resistant. And so I was, and keep in mind for anybody listening, anything that I am talking about, it's especially on me. Like, it's my journey. And so what works for one person doesn't work for another. So this was really specially for me, and we worked really closely on this. But I was really sensitive to carbs. I would eat carbs and my stomach would just blow up. We started checking my morning blood glucose, and I was just always really high, like 120, 123, 125. And so we worked on bringing me down. You started reducing my carbs. And we got to a point where we were able to start bringing that morning glucose down, that blood sugar down. And that's when, I was able to kind of lock in, getting my blood sugar balanced, helped me mentally, and physically, to be able to lock into the routine. And that's when I was really able to just start digging hard in the gym, really start focusing, on building that muscle, started making the better food choices. By then we had been together for a minute. And like I said, you were so good for me, because I'm really used to running the show. And apparently you're a little better. So, you would just call me out. You'd be like, "That's bullshit, Lisa. That's bullshit." I'm like,
Yeah.
Okay. It
There's
is.
definitely, that's why I love it.
You know,
Mhm.
and so
Good.
so yeah, so that just really helped me to stay focused and to stay on that road. And then, but things were changing within my body. You know, and I had always had some things that I struggled with that weren't going away. You know, my brain fog, short term memory loss was really bad. Um, the fatigue, I would just have fatigue that would start from the time I woke up in the morning. After lunch, after I was done at the gym, it would just hit, there was just things that were really bad. My sleep was horrible. I could go to sleep really quick, but by 2:30 in the morning, 2:30 to 3:15 every single night, I would wake up, and it was like I had adrenaline rushing in me, and it would take me, I'd have all these crazy thoughts going through my head. I'd be worried about things that were, were improbable happening, would probably
Mhm.
never happen. Um, but I would worry about them until I would fall back asleep. So then I would wake up exhausted. Um, so those, and I was constantly working on these things. It's not like I was ignoring this stuff. Like we were always, trying something new, adding different, melatonin or GABA or L-theanine or magnesium, combinations of. But some of these things just weren't getting better.
Yeah.
So
So
I knew there was
yeah,
something else there.
facts. Let me jump in here, right? So we, like I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, or we had we've gone through many different phases. So initially, like what Lisa was sharing about at the beginning, where we worked on the mindset, and then you got shit together, and you crushed it. Like we made a huge transformation with your body. And then there was a bit of leading up until last year. There was a bit, you had a couple health scares, and this led you down the path of wanting and needing. You had a couple of health scares, and then also on like the work that we were doing together as your coach, I noticed that we noticed that there was just a bit of a stall happening with your progress, and it
Okay.
come to be like there was new medications introduced. There were we were trying different strategies to work with it, um, and nothing was really panning out as we had hoped for. So this leads into what I want to dive into. And I feel like there's a lot of value in what you're going through right now for a lot of women too that may be going through this as well, and they're not taking the step deeper that you're taking to really understand um, what's going on internally with your body. Which, when you understand what's going on internally with your body, you're able to address those deficiencies, and that's where you start healing internally, and then you externally get the results that you want, and we're able to lock in the specific workouts, the specific nutrition that you should be following, the supplementation that you're on. So let's go down that path. I mean, again, you guys, like Lisa's beginning, again, we've been through multiple phases, but from where she started around 50 with WarriorBabe to a couple years in, the transformation she made was just absolutely incredible. And I feel like we're on this next chapter together. And I'm so excited to do this like by your side and with the data that you have now. But let's go down and share and fill everybody in. What happened last year, and then like how you felt in terms of what you were seeing physically, what we were trying to work on. I want to hear it from your perspective, and then how we'll get to how we're navigating that now. But let's just start there.
Okay. So January of 2023, I started having some abdominal issues, some pain in my abdominal. I ended up in the ER middle of the night one night with what I thought was just diverticulitis. And I had never had it before, but I knew what it felt like. My mom used to get it. And so I figured they'd give me some medicine and I'd be gone. But they came back and said, not only do you have severe diverticulitis, you've got two abscesses in your intestines and you have a perforation. And we are setting you on the floor for possible emergency surgery. I was floored. I mean, I've never had anything done before. You know, I'm not on any kind of medication, not on any kind of medication. So I was in the hospital for 5 days with that. And I was on heavy duty IV antibiotics. Um, they sent me home with it and sent me home with oral antibiotics. And it was either a 14-day or a 21-day. I really can't remember. But I started noticing during that time. Now, I've always had racing heart, and that comes from my anxiety, which is uncontrollable, and medication never worked for it. So I'm not on anything for it. But my heart rate started going from like 173 down to 35, just all over the place. So 3 weeks later, I ended up back in the hospital by ambulance from the gym while I was just in there walking because my heart rate again went from way up in the 170s down to 35 while I was walking. So that put me back in the hospital. They ran every kind of test in the world, checked my heart out inside and out. Your heart's beautiful. That's what they said. Your heart is absolutely beautiful. But they ended up putting me on a beta blocker because they said you have supraventricular tachycardia after wearing a heart monitor for a couple weeks. So they put me on that, and it really bothered me because I thought, you just told me my heart's beautiful, but you're putting me on a beta blocker. I don't want to be on medication. But they said, because you have all this adrenaline is hitting your heart all the time, that's causing that spike to stay there. So we're putting you on this. And that's when everything was really stalled for me. Like my body just, it hit, time. And it was hard for me. Like I really had to like dig into some of the stuff that you and I had worked on and the things that you had reinforced with me and taught me about mindset, because all motivation needed to be gone. It was all about determination and that just pure willpower to figure it out myself. Because what happened is when I go into any of the doctors, whether it's the gynecologist, whether it's the heart doctor, whether it's the GI doctor, they look at me and they're like, you look very healthy. And when I look around at the people that were around me, I'm like, I guess I do. But that's not fair to me because I've been telling you all these issues and these symptoms that I have for years now. And you're telling me, but you look healthy. So that's what I always got. And they would check my blood work with their standard blood work panel and be like, everything is good. So I decided to start investigating it myself because I was like, there needs to be more.
Yeah. Pause right there because, okay, during this time, you guys, right, as Lisa just shared, there was the hospital scare, there was the new medication, and then there was the implementation of, from our relationship, trying to get the right protocol in place that would still facilitate the results that we were going for. And like Lisa and I, we've gone through, majority of the time you lived in maintenance, but we've done multiple different types of phases. And whenever we wanted to proceed forward in a deficit, the deficit was one of the hardest things for us to crack at this point, because we were trying to find a new baseline with where your body would adapt, but also deploy on what we were trying to have it do. And we felt like we were just hitting walls and we weren't getting to where we wanted to be. And so it worked. Like at the beginning of your journey, obviously things worked, but then there's a point, and I think this a lot of people experience it. It's not so much more any of the protocols that we put into place on the nutrition and fitness side of things. It's like, this is where we need to dive a little bit deeper in what you're taking into your hands right now with looking for deeper evidence, because as you just shared, you've been told you are a bill of health when you go into, doctors and endocrinologists and GI and all of this stuff. But like what you're about to deploy on next, which I want you to share this like next phase of your journey, because at one point we were like you knew you were going to do all these things, but I was like, thank freaking God, because I don't know that there's much more on my side as your coach that I can't go. I need data. I need to know what's going on internally with your body. And
Right.
it's not a matter of me like, here's different macro percentages. Let's go try that. Here, like we did that already. We knew it wasn't working. We
Right.
fluctuated back up with more carbs. We went to lower carbs. We went to higher fats. We went to lower fats. We like played around with your protein, put your protein up. Like we did all the things. We knew that wasn't our avenue anymore. And so now here we are entering this phase of what made you like just share now like everything that you are working on and what you're diving into. And I think like this is like your almost like the epiphany bridge, right? It's like, here we go, baby. This is like Lisa 2.0.
Yeah. So, I realized I wasn't being fair to myself. And I was not being fair to you. Um, you were doing everything that you could on your end, you know, everything that was possible. But I was only giving you only had half the data. You
Mhm.
only you only knew that side of it, and you only had basically half of the equation to work with, because the other half is, who am I inside cellularly, and that's what I kind of had to ask myself. I was like, what are my genetics telling me? Like at that point, I didn't even know what my blood type was. People would say, what's blood type? I don't know. You should
Well,
eat for
there's
your
a
blood.
funny
I don't know.
story there that we can share in a little bit.
And so then I was like, well, what is real blood work telling me? Like, I wanted to have like a full panel done without my doctor, you know, being involved in it. And I'm not taking anything away from the medical side of anything. I'm just saying that this was my journey, and I
Mhm.
wasn't getting the results that I needed or the help. So I was taking a different path. Um, and I just knew that I needed to do some self help and self love for myself. So I started deep diving. Well, before I even started deep diving, I kind of started doing some little biohacks. And you were really proud of me because I started doing breath work. Now, for anybody that's listening,
Yeah.
I know somebody's rolling their eyes.
For anybody that's listening, to have Lisa do that is like trying to pull teeth out of a human's mouth.
It, it would be easier to get me to run in the past. So,
So the fact that Lisa started to do breath work, my friends, should be an inspiration that if you're somebody that cannot sit still for more than 30 seconds or feel like you're, like Lisa just said, rolling your eyes at the thought of breath work, if Lisa can do it, trust you guys can do it.
and and trust me, if I'm still doing it, it's because it works. I can't quite explain the feeling, but in the moment while you're doing it, it's almost like a euphoric drug type feeling, And in the beginning, you get all the, well, even now, I still get all these kind of just really weird, cool sensations while I'm doing it. But afterwards, I feel so much better. I am ready to conquer my day. My anxiety levels come down so much. My strength gains in the gym went up enormously, because all of my cells were getting oxygen. I mean, you are literally like slowly suffocating at night when you sleep. You breathe very shallow, and your body does not get the oxygen it needs. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to try this for 7 days. 7 days. And I was like, I kind of like this. I was like, okay, I'm going to do it for a month. And then that was just it. Like, there wasn't discussion, after the month.
Note too that you shared that you have anxiety, right? And I'm sure tons of listeners can totally resonate with that too as well. What was the difference you felt doing your breath work to like the anxiety you live with to like now how does it feel?
It is so much better. I still have anxiety, but a lot of that is, I think, going to be corrected very soon, because my anxiety is not anxiety that people take medication for. Mine
Yeah.
is no rhyme, no reason, comes out of nowhere. I could be on vacation, having the happiest time of my life. Anxiety will set in. And I've had it for as long as I can remember. And medication doesn't work. So those are your three criteria when they start looking at the next part we're going to talk about. So I think this will be something that will continue to clear up as I get myself straight cellularly.
Yeah. Okay. So you did the breath work, and then you also did.
So I do an ice pod every morning. My husband and I are addicted. You couldn't ever get me to stop. We started in the bathtub because I was like, well, I'm not going to spend that money if I can't get my butt in there. And the first day, I'll be honest with you, I lasted 19 seconds. And I was like, but then my husband got in and he lasted for 1:06. So I was like, all right, buddy. So the next day I did 3 minutes, and so we did it in the bathtub for the first month, and just to make sure we could do it. And we instantly, once we started doing it, felt enormous health benefits from, my husband has horrible joint pain, just gone. Like he does it every day religiously. Mine really helps with anxiety. I go all the way up to my face so that it gets all the nerves in my neck. But just other health benefits. It releases cold shock proteins from your liver to help scavenge antioxidants in your body. So for aging benefits, I'll stand there all day if they submerge my head,
So you started biohacking, you started doing all of those things, and then your next steps to getting more answers were?
I decided that I needed to do a few things and I needed to do them in order. So I decided on genetic testing to find out what was going on with my genes. Mm-hmm. And it came back that I had some pretty big gene breaks in there, or they call them mutations. And one of them that a lot of people have this, is the MTHFR, but I was homozygous on it. So which means both of my parents gave it to me. And for anybody that doesn't know what that is, it means that I cannot methylate synthetic forms of vitamins like B12 and folate. Every single thing in the United States, grain-wise, whether it's our wheat, any of the grains, cereals, rice, pastas, anything, is sprayed with folic acid, and it is a synthetic form. It's called cyanocobalamin. And for somebody who can't metabolize it or methylate it, it is poison for your body because it builds up and it builds up. And that is what started happening that's why my thyroid, we're adjusting things on my thyroid now because it started attacking my thyroid. My gut health started going. It does things with the catecholamines in your body, which are what release your adrenaline or your fight or flight. So I immediately, before I even had my blood work done, I cut out all processed food. And I would read the labels on everything because you would not believe how many health food products have synthetic folate in there, folic acid in there, or the cyanocobalamin, which is just poison for you. Vitamins have it, energy drinks have it, Celsius, just everything that I could think of reading, protein bars, protein drinks that you get at the store, everything that you would think would be healthy because they say, fortified with B vitamins. Well, that sounds good, but for somebody that can't methylate it, it's not good.
Yeah.
So, and that was leading to things like my skin was getting really, really dry and like scaly, no matter how much water I drank, no matter how much moisturizers I used, nothing helped it. Those things, the brain fog, finally lifted. Gone. Short-term memory coming back really well. So those are my two major firsts, that I had was the brain fog. I was so used to it that I absolutely thought that was normal. I thought that is how you're supposed to feel. And so just to get that to lift, I just went to a whole foods diet, nothing processed. All my meats are grass-fed or grass finished. My chickens are organic. So because the problem is, if you're feeding the animals grain and I can't process that, I'm eating it in the meat, and it's super high in omega-6 oils, which from the testing in my body is like through the roof in inflammation, cellular inflammation. So these were things I wouldn't have known before.
Amazing. Yeah, and it's a true testament to be able to get a little bit deeper into the data of what's going on with your body, so that okay, if you don't have the ability to process folic acid, and it's in a lot of the things that we eat on a daily basis, how is anyone supposed to, you won't know that if I'm just like, hey, here are your macros, go follow them, and then you can't eat some of the things that are to make up one of those macronutrient groups. And then you wonder why we're stalling in results. Like, obviously there's a ton of other reasons that could be, but your reason specifically is because of the foods that you were eating.
Right.
So, but from physically, but also mentally, and some of the things that you experience with the lift of the brain, and so many people experience that brain fog, and not short-term memory, like what that leads to later in life, like, and that's because of what the foods that potentially that some people are eating that they're just unaware of without this type of evidence that you went for. So next, okay, so you got all of that information. This is my favorite part, you guys, what she's recently been diving into for herself. But first, start with what you've been told your whole life, and now what you have to.
Right. So I have gone in since the very first time I went into the doctor on my own. I was 17, and I told him that, I had all the symptoms of being hypoglycemic. And every time they've ever tested me, they're like, no, you're not. And I'm like, well, my thyroid hurts all the time, and it's got like little knots on it. And they'd test me and say, no, your thyroid's good. Every time I'd go in to the gynecologist, they would tell me my hormones are perfect. And I was like, I'm just at the point where I'm just not believing them. So my next step after the gene testing was to have full panel blood work done. And something I didn't realize is that some of your biggest labs now, which I won't say the names, but they are changing their normal standards for hormones. They are reducing them because so many people nowadays have lower hormones, especially testosterone. So they've actually lowered what the normal range is, which I find really, really disheartening. So I got my blood work done and was really surprised. I had an appointment set up with my functional medicine doctor to go over the results. And first thing I found out that I was floored about was that my liver was struggling and that it was in the early stages of fatty liver disease. And that comes from having the gene breaks that I have had for so long and eating improperly for it, but also not supplementing with methylated vitamins. It's a really easy fix. Like, this is nothing scary to have.
I have the same break that you have. I have the same MTHFR break, and I take the methylated vitamins on a daily basis.
I mean, it's easy, and you just clean up your diet, My cortisol was through the roof. Insulin-like growth factor, very, very low, super low, which was screwing up all of my hormones. Female hormones did not suggest menopause at all. She's like, you're not in menopause. Nope. And I was like,
that was the craziest thing to be hearing that. Like,
right?
Because I would have thought that some of the symptoms we were experiencing in the last year would be signs of you going into premenopause. And then hearing that I'm like, damn, you are a late bloomer.
Right. I'll get around to it someday. I like to stand out. And the other one was sex hormone binding globulin was extremely high. And what that does is it causes your estrogen to be very high. So I'm very high estrogen dominant. And what that does is it binds your free testosterone and holds it down. So my testosterone, free testosterone, was very low. That was very high. And then she said, and your thyroid is trash. And I was like, I don't think she expected my reaction, because I was like, I could kiss you, you know? And she's like, I was like, I have tried, because it doesn't make sense to me that my thyroid has been growing goiters on it, just and getting worse and worse. And they're like, yeah, just, yeah. And something they said, you know, when I asked about it, I said, it just seems to me that if I have a healthy thyroid, that goiters would be growing. That would be telling me that it's trying to protect itself from something. And she said, yeah, that's a great question. And we just don't know. That some people just happen. We don't know. That's not a good enough answer for me, because I have no kind of medical degree whatsoever. Let's just go ahead and put that out there. But that doesn't make sense to me. And she's like, yeah, she's like, your numbers are terrible. And so they've started me on a natural form of thyroid. But, you know, just so many of the things that they have put me on, and they're not long term. Like right now in the beginning, there's several supplements, but they're not meant to be long term. They're meant to get my body functioning how it should. And then, you know, we wean off. We do blood work in 3 more months to check. And I have more genetic testing that is coming in that will really, I think, take us really to that next level.
Amen to that. And just note, like, remember we had our one-on-one, note to me what you said to the listeners about your thyroid. You were like, well, my thyroid is trash from what you heard from the doctor. What cannot be accomplished if your thyroid isn't working?
Well, so it's your master hormone gland for your body. So your metabolism is completely off, because you know, everyone thinks about our hormones as just being our sex hormones, you know, and we have so many hormones in the body, and they all have such an important function. And if they can't do what they need to do, you're not going to get you know, it's like I'm just treading water, you know, or just spinning in quicksand. You know, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not getting any traction, but I'm wearing myself out trying.
Yeah, that's where, honestly, like, there's things that you can do when, like, you're 20, 30 years old, right? Like it's when you, and like you can do things, you can follow things, you can get results, you can, you know, things start to catch up a little bit later on in life, as you're sharing here right now. And like, what like our protocol in terms of like, follow this protocol with macros, follow this protocol with your workouts, you know, let's work on your mindset like we did at the beginning, and like you had a, you know, amazing success. Like, but there's like now the point where I think a lot of people just think, oh, this is just how my body, like you even said it, you're like, oh, brain fog, like this is just what I'm supposed to expect now, like this is
It's because it's what you're told. We're told that.
What do you mean by that?
Every time I go to the doctor, any symptoms that I have, it is a sign of getting older. Yeah, as we get older, our body slows down.
Fucking false.
Well, my husband is 60 years old, and he is like the Energizer Bunny, you know? Like, I have friends that just go, 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 go. You know, I was the one that if it was after 3 o'clock, I wasn't doing anything, because I did not have any kind of energy. I was almost lethargic from being so fatigued, you know?
Yeah.
And now I go out and play pickleball, and, you know.
Yeah. It's just, I'm so happy, like, to have you on this and to have you share your entire story, because there are so many people that, and even like warrior babes that are in the community right now, that, you know, we partner with EcoLife, and we have the ability to have the information that, not the gene testing, you did that in a different company, but you still did the EcoLife testing results and gathered your hormone testing through that, your cortisol, your A1C, like, you know, some things were able to work off with that in combination with the other company you went with.
Yes.
And I think that, you know, inside of with warrior babes, they're stuck in thinking that, oh, this is just going to happen as I age, and I just need to accept that I'm aging. But you don't need to accept that.
Right.
And that's exactly what your story is all about. And why I wanted you so badly to come onto this podcast and share that entire story, because it's so inspiring. not only like knowing you as a human, like you're a go-getter, you're determined, but like you're somebody that like won't take no for an answer, and you continue to get the answers that you knew, like, and you intuitively knew what was happening, but you just needed someone to confirm it.
Mhm.
And you weren't getting that confirmation that you knew, so you sought out more avenues. And there's so many resources that people can go about to get the answers of, like, you don't have to accept what people are telling you. There's actually your next bill of health, and why I called you Lisa 2.0. Like, you are on that next bill of health to correct what is deficient and not working right now. And as you noted to the supplements too, it's like you're not on supplements for the rest of your life. You're on supplements to get this to be working for you and to be like to be stabilized. Um, and not many people will be able. People will like literally just follow and like what we were doing for a little bit. We were like, let's just play around with things. Let's just try and adjust things. Like let's just try and hope something sticks. But like you can only do that for so long until you really have to be like, dude, something else internally is going on, and I can't help you until we figure that out. And
Right.
like that's why I love that you just took it in your hands to get those answers, so that like now we're able to, you're going to go onto this journey of taking the supplementation to correct the deficiencies. And when you're like, as you're doing this, like we're going to be able to really hone in on you getting the type of results that you want, because now everything is working for you instead of against you internally. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel very proud, um, of myself, that I had the determination to not give up and to not take no for an answer, to know that I knew my body and go into the doctors. I mean, let's face it, we're just a number when we go in there, you know? So just being able to know that, you know, I know things are going on and I know these aren't normal. I'm too healthy of a person to be feeling like this at the time 55, and that I'm determined to live my life to the fullest. And I want to be able to make the most out of my day, you know, moving around. And um, so
Yeah.
it makes me super proud that I took that initiative and I had that determination to be able to do that, and being able to side by side with you, like every Friday, to be able to tell you updates, to be able to tell you, you know, this is what we have found out. Um, you know,
I know like
they want
Lisa's
me to
entire
implement this.
now. Yeah, I know
Yeah.
like your entire supplementation protocol now. So because yeah, we yeah.
But,
But
I mean, it's doing its thing, and, and they put me on a testosterone booster, but that's only like, it's like 60 days. And then you have to come off of it, and they check you, but it's all natural. There's like nothing, I'm not on any kind of drugs or, you know, anything like that. So
I'm so
yeah,
excited
I'm just,
for this next chapter for you. Yeah, this
I
next
am
chapter is
too.
going to be incredible. What would you say? By the way, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
I think a lot of people, like I said, need to hear that, because if you guys really like, if you're listening, you really want to get the results that you're really seeking. And let's say you are like Lisa, like I said, when she's in it, she's in it and she follows the protocol. But like, and you like everyone like listening, and you're like, I'm healthy and I work out, but I'm not getting the results. Well, one, it could be like, okay, let's really dive in and see the level of consistency. Let's make sure the plan that you're following is right. But then the
Right.
last bit is like, there's probably more answers that we need to have, that we can't, that like you need to go and we need to get that figured out so we can, and then just don't trust that age is just like, age is just a number. Just because you're getting older doesn't mean you have to feel all these types of symptoms that you're feeling. But
Right. You shouldn't have to feel old to be getting older,
yeah, exactly. Now, going back though to WarriorBabe and your journey, I tell you, man, I was blessed with you as a client, to be able to work with you and to have the partnership that we do have. What would you tell somebody that's listening right now, right? Obviously, you mentioned in the beginning, like it was OG days when you joined WarriorBabe, and obviously I'm your coach and I don't take on any more clients now, but we have an amazing team of like 65 coaches now that all work individually with clients that are just like Lisa, or younger or a bit older. What would you tell someone who's watching this right now that is unsure about like taking the next step and becoming a WarriorBabe?
I would tell them that if they have been watching and they've been following and they're feeling a pull towards wanting to pull that trigger, I would tell them to pull the trigger. That WarriorBabe itself as a company, I mean, I would not still be here. Like, I'm not just somebody you brought on and hired me, to do this. Like, I've been your client for years. I wouldn't still be here if this program was not everything that it claims. You have put all your blood, sweat, and tears into this company from the very, very beginning, from when it was just you out there just working it hard. And you take pride in who you hire. It's not an easy thing. You don't just hire just anybody. You hire coaches that have the same goals and mindset and heart for helping other women. And that's what makes it so special, is because it isn't about men and women in this program. It's about women, because we are so unique and so different and so special. And we are being able to deal with the emotional part of it. But these coaches are all really super qualified for being here. But if you're coming into the program, make sure that you're ready to do the program. And you better be honest with your coach, because if you're not honest with your coach, they can't help you, and you are doing yourself a disservice. You are not going to get results, and you're going to get angry that you spent money and that you're not getting results. And you can't do that. It's not fair to yourself, but it's not fair to the coaches. Putting in that, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be 100%, but you do have to show up for nutrition, especially. You better be there at least 90%, and you better be making wise choices. For me, and I know some of you aren't going to want to hear this, alcohol was poison for me. It was poison. And I know that now from wearing a Whoop for so long now. When I have alcohol in my system, and I don't care if it's half a glass, all of my recovery goes out the window. My strain is super, super high for the day. My heart rate, I sleep at night in the 80s. My heart rate is in the 80s if I have alcohol in my system, versus usually 59 or 60. But it's about putting in the work. But these coaches in the company are amazing. They are qualified. I see the work they put in. I see how much time they take helping clients. They've got calls all the time that they always want you on. You can ask questions. You get so much insightful advice from them. And you can always reach out to your coach. Like, where else can you get that? That they're there for you like that. So my money has always been on, and will always be on, WarriorBabe. I told you, you're stuck with me.
Facts. I love it though. Once again, anyway, thank you. I appreciate that. That was very sweet. And yeah, you've been here since day one, so you've seen the ups, downs, and all of the in between.
I've seen how hard you've worked.
Thank you.
No.
Well, it's been a freaking absolute. Actually, I want to pull back. Can you just share with the squad what blood type you are, and if that's even allowed on the podcast? But like, what?
Oh yeah. I can say anything I want.
And the story that went beyond that you then decided what happened that day, but then I got in a check-in note that like, oh, I'm going to pursue doing this.
Yeah, so some of y'all will probably be disappointed in me, but this was I gave blood for the first time, and it was because my husband was giving it because he has to, and blah, blah, blah. But I went in there and I was like, all of a sudden, I just felt brave all of a sudden. I was like, hey, can I give blood? They're like, sure. So I got in a little chair and, give them my blood. I don't like needles, by the way. I don't like anything like that. And I'm trying to concentrate on this movie. I'm trying to focus, and I'm getting kind of hot and I'm getting sweaty, and she comes over there to take the stuff off, and I could feel the warmth, like from the bag or whatever. I don't know what it was, but all of a sudden everything started getting really hot, and I just broke out in like full body sweats. Meanwhile, keep in mind, my husband, he's already done. He jumped up. He's over in the other little room, whatever. And she looks at me and she goes, are you getting ready to pass out? I said, no, I'm just really hot. So we have to get all these fans. And she's like, do you want a juice box? And I was like, I do. So she like brings me like a little granola, a little juice box. So I'm sitting there, my juice box. It was really, really tough. And like the rest of the day, the next day, like I was like, this was tough. And then I was like, then I told you on Friday, I'm going to do this.
I'm gonna check it. I hear the story. Like I get the play-by-play on like her going and experiencing this, like what happens, and then like I have a check-in. We have a check-in like 3 or 4 days later, and in the check-in or a week later, I forget when it was, but it was
that week.
Okay, it was that week. Yeah, even better. Just keep us even like enough time to let it pass. But I got to check in, and she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna continue to do this
every 6 weeks."
Every 6 weeks. Oh, great. I'm like, okay, let's make sure next time you have your juice box, you have a banana.
Snacky snacks.
Yeah, your snacky snacks. So anyway, Lisa, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast today. I know a lot of women are going to be able to resonate with where you were at the beginning. Even resonate with you where you were with the triumphs that we experienced in the beginning of your journey. Even so many into the years that we worked together, and then what you've experienced in the last like year. And in knowing that, I think too, to sum it all up, like we've been working together since 2019. That's what, 5 years? 5 years. Like geez, man, I thought I would, I can't believe that. That's amazing. But to show you that it's not a quick fix. It's you're on a journey and you've had a ton of different avenues that you've gone down and you've experienced, and it's just about you've been able to adapt, and we've been able to strategize and plan, and then be able to implement the next path forward. And I think that's the best part of working, I think, together, is someone that I know I can probably going to speak for you on this one, but we get along so well, and we're able to work together in a sense of I know you know me. And in order to pursue that type of relationship, it takes time. But, for a lot of people that may be listening, it's like, oh, I'm on to the next program. I'm on to the next coach. I got to reestablish my relationship. I got to have this person know me. But I think there's so much value in working with the same person and just being able to have the type of communication that we have, and be able to work together on your plan instead of like, thinking that everything or I know everything. It's like we're working together to give you the ultimate best way to move forward. And there's so many different ways of which we've navigated those last 5 years. And it's not been like one single, you went through a cut and it's been the same way that we went through a cut. It's like, you know what I mean? It's been different every single time. So I think that's pretty cool anyway. And
I just want to say this real quick too, to the women. Stop comparing yourself to your friend or the girl that you see on Facebook or the person that, you meet up with wherever. We're all different. And just because one thing worked for them, it doesn't mean stop jumping ship so much. Just concentrate on the basics, your nutrition, your exercise, your focus on you.
Yeah. Amen to that. Well, I think that's a good ending note there. Lisa, again, thank you for your time and coming on the show today.
You're absolutely welcome. Thank you for having me.
Hey everyone, thanks for sticking around to the end of the show. I hope you really enjoyed that podcast. Really quick, if you're a woman aged 45 through 65 and finding menopause challenging, listen closely. WarriorBabe is here to help you reclaim your body and your confidence. At WarriorBabe, we've empowered over 18,000 women to lose stubborn body fat, build toned muscle, and understand their bodies better. Our personalized plans based on hormone and thyroid testing and more ensure you get exactly what you need to see real results and real results that last. Imagine feeling stronger, more energized, and in control of your health. Don't let menopause hold you back any longer. Head over to WarriorBabe.com/apply and join our amazing community today. That's WarriorBabe.com/apply. The link is in the show notes below. Thanks again for listening to the episode, and I'll see you in the next one.